Hello and welcome to World Talks on TVP World with me, Ashim Kumar. EU defence ministers are meeting in Brussels to discuss military support for Ukraine as the European Parliament backs a €90 billion loan package. At the same time, Poland is moving to implement the EU's Safe Loan programme to boost its own capabilities. We're joined by Marek Madej from the University of Warsaw to explore the implications of these moves. Mr. Madej, welcome to TP World. Thanks for taking the time.
Good evening.
Good evening. So €90 billion for Ukraine. That's quite a lot of money. How's it going to be spent and what difference is it going to make on the ground?
Well, first of all, it's for 2 years, so we have to take it into account. It's 26, 27, and 60% of 60 billion of that will be spent on defense as such. The other 30 billion are rather for general support for the Ukraine, what is also defense related sometimes, because we talk only also about some infrastructure like energy and that kind of stuff, and simply something which secure the level of fluidity of Ukrainian budgetary capabilities sufficient enough to function. So, shortly speaking, that's really crucial for Ukraine because it secure both money for equipment for the military, especially ammunition, new weapons, new weaponry, but also other capabilities necessary for efficient fighting. But the remaining part is also crucial for functioning of Ukraine state and economy. So that's why that money are really counts.
Right. Now, a couple of things about this. First of all, where is this money going to be spent? Is it going to be spent in Europe, or are we going to be reliant again on buying United States equipment?
I think that here we cannot say that it will be situation all or nothing, in that sense that money will be spent mainly, or intention is to increase the spending on European markets for that. The problem is also that especially Ukraine has that kind of problem that they need things very often now, urgently. So the problem is also who can produce things, who can deliver that kind of things. But nevertheless, the intention is rather to increase the possibilities of spending that money on European markets, which are not, irrelevant in that sense that a lot of things could be bought here. The problem is also simply that simultaneously other countries, including European Union members, will also be interested in some purchases of weapons and ammunition. So there is an issue of developing sufficient industrial base to secure needs of both Ukraine and Europeans. So I wouldn't say that it will be only in Europe, but the idea is to spend on Ukrainian industry, on European industry, at least a substantial part of that money.
Right. Now, the bill was actually passed, or the loan was passed, under the enhanced cooperation structure, which means that you didn't need unanimity in the EU to pass this bill. And, predictably, some countries like Hungary and Slovakia who were against passing the bill. Now, does this mean that those countries that pass the bill will actually bear the burden of this loan, or does everybody bear that burden?
Well, both mentioned countries, and if I remember well as well, Czechia, they will make a reservation when the decision was made that they will not be responsible for covering burdens associated with that kind of loan. But the loan is based on a budget of European Union as such. It's a loan done by European Union as an institution. So with that reservation done by that states, otherwise it will be a problem with finding an agreement for that, and probably the decision could be blocked. So with that reservation, it means that it will be a burden shared by all members of European Union. However, at the same time, it means that it's secured rather as a loan done by the institution, not by separate countries. So, for example, it's not depends on how much money will be spent in given country for purchases of weapons or something like that, or it will not be related that way. So, yes, it is a burden of whole European Union.
Understood. I'd like to move on now to the SAFE program. Poland has applied for and received 44 billion euros from this fund, again to be used for military/defence purposes. Now, that's a lot of money. How is Poland going to be able to finance that?
Well, first of all, we have to remember that that kind of loan is relatively attractive, or I would say even particularly attractive, in that sense that the paying back will start not earlier than in 10 years. And de facto, it could be 40, even up to 45 years of giving back that money. And rent is not is attractive in that sense that probably it is, I think even we could say, we could be certain that for countries like Poland, finding any other source of financing of increased military spending, which are equally attractive, would be a problem here and now. So that's the one thing. Of course, it's huge amount of money, but at the same time, we have to treat it as an investment for especially, and that's the whole idea, to stimulate the European industrial base and industrial capabilities, including Polish ones. So although I agree that that's a lot of money which could be invested, but at the same time, then we have to give it back in next decades. Still, that kind of investment should pay back, because it will also help us to produce weapons not only for Polish purposes, but develop technologies and develop capabilities to produce the technologies, which could be also delivered to other and offered to other countries. That's, by the way, the logic of SAFE is like that we as a Poland we have 43 billions of euro secured for our projects, which we delivered to European Commission for acceptance. But at the same time, if other producers and other countries will decide to cooperate with Poles on some issues, to buy some components from Poland or some additions to their offers, it could be also financed from that kind of mechanism. So in that sense, although it is a problem in that sense that huge money which are still a loan, if not something which is just given, means that in future you are obliged to pay back, but at the same time, especially now in current circumstances, is simply one of the most attractive way of investing into developing industrial base, and at the same time quickly and on sufficient in technical matter context, in sufficient way to secure also needs of our military.
Okay, now if we put these two things together, so the approved loan for Ukraine and SAFE, what does that tell you about the restructuring of the European military base?
Well, first of all, I think that I would say that Europe is serious about it. It thinks that it's decided to mobilize really huge resources for both purposes. And at the same time, knowing that we have some lacks, some laps also within our capabilities as far as militaries are concerned, but also in our industrial capabilities, that is to produce amounts which are necessary and quality which is required, means that thanks to that investment, it could change. However, as I said, the Rome was not built in the day, so we could assume that it will take time. It's a long-term process, but designed in a way which could help even instantly, in that sense that improvement will be visible quickly. However, we have to wait to some degree to assess how efficient, how truly efficient the system is. It also unfortunately says that the weaknesses or deficiencies of industrial base are still visible. Some capabilities, military capabilities, are not available from Polish and European producers. So that kind of investment could enhance, let's say, broaden the capabilities, not only in context of industrial capabilities in Europe, not only in context in size, in amounts we can produce, but also in type of capabilities we are delivering.
Now, you talk about capabilities needing to be built up. Does that suggest to you that Europe didn't really bother about building up that military capital, if you like, because they were too reliant on the United States? And it's only when President Trump came along and said, you know, you've got to take more responsibility for yourselves, did this start to happen?
I think it will simplify a bit the situation in that sense that we have also to take into account that the cooperation with NATO assume that we could use together capabilities of member states. Some capabilities were delivered by United States, which even explicitly very often claimed that it should not be duplicated by other states. In other words, it was not only the issue of military capabilities that we have all together, but also issue of, let's say, some kind of monopoly or privileged position of U.S. producers, which simply having industrial capacity to produce it, but at the same time huge internal market that is U.S. military, were more keen on investing in some research projects, some research and development projects.
Unfortunately, Mr. Madej, unfortunately, we're going to have to end it there, but thank you very much indeed for sharing your analysis with our audience. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night. And that brings us to the end of this episode of World Talks. Don't go away. Lots more coming up. Goodbye.